everyone, my name is Kaylie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay everybody, happy Sunday. I hope that you are having an amazing day. I do have some quick updates for you guys. First and foremost, I know that a lot of you are like worried that I'm gonna start telling criminal stories like on this channel and kind of replacing my other videos with those. That's not the case. I actually just kind of like doing those videos, so those are going to be alongside my usual things that I post, you know, the regular drama tea-filled stories. So yeah, and also if you guys want to help pick out the story times that I tell every week, you guys can go and follow my Instagram at Kaylie Leas, because on there I'll do polls on my story and I'll tell you guys the title of 2 stories and you guys will pick between the 2 on which one you want to see that week. Also, I think I want to start going live and having you guys help me pick out the story times as well. Maybe giving you guys like a little teaser, like kind of telling you guys just a little bit about it and then you guys can decide. But other than that, we are going to get into today's video. So I'm going to bring you guys up close. There we go. Okay, so before we get into today's story times, we are going to do my quick usual little rundown. For most of the video, I will be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. I do tell these story times in a first person point of view, so if you don't like that, then you can leave.
There's the door. There's the door, bitch!
And these story times are sent in by anonymous people.
Hey guys, just wanted to put a quick trigger warning in here. The first story time does talk about suicide, so if this makes you uncomfortable in any way, please exit out of the video or go to the second story time, which starts at 30 minutes and 18 seconds. Viewer discretion is advised.
Okay, so story time about my psycho roommate from residential. Now, real quick, for any of those who don't know what a residential facility is, it is a structured environment where, in this case, children and teens live temporarily or long-term, and they receive support and care and supervision. And the children that are usually in these facilities may have experienced trauma, neglect, or they have behavioral issues, mental health challenges, and other things like that. And there are like a few different kinds. Like there can be group homes, which are like smaller community-based homes where kids will live, residential treatment centers where there's more, they're like more structured and supervised and a lot more professionals working with the kids there. And yeah, oftentimes though, I'm pretty sure that most of you, if you've ever seen anything about these on TikTok, some of them can be kind of corrupt. Not all of them, but I'm saying some of them. Like I remember seeing this thing about like Paris Hilton. Her parents sent her to this one place and I don't know exactly if it was a residential facility, but something along the lines of that. Anyways, getting off the topic, that is what a residential facility is. So a little background information. I was 13 and in 8th grade when this story takes place, and I had been struggling for years with my mental health. And yes, I know that's very young to be struggling with mental health, but sadly, mental health issues do not have an age. Anyway, so I was in school for about a month, and honestly, I just felt like I couldn't really take it anymore, like everything that was going on in my life. So I did try to end my life in late September, which in turn put me in the hospital at 2 in the morning. Obviously, my parents were concerned. I would be concerned if they were not concerned, but they knew that I had been depressed at the time, but they didn't know how bad it actually was. So fast forward a few hours after I get out of the hospital, I'm absolutely exhausted and I get home, completely just pass out. And then fast forward a day later, my mom told me that they were going to send me to a residential program for 3 fucking months. Yeah. Now, clearly I'm not fucking happy about this, but I really didn't have the energy to argue with them about it. Also, I felt like there was no point in arguing with them about it because it's not like they were gonna change their mind. Like, definitely not after I just tried to unalive myself. Had a better chance of hitting the lottery. Anyway, so fast forward about like 10 days, we arrive at the residential facility and they made me do like a ton of tests. They made me give them a urine sample and a breathalyzer test. Like, it was already giving weird as fuck. Not only that, but like I had been there for less than 5 minutes before they were already giving me anxiety and panic attacks, because while I'm trying to piss in this cup, they're like rushing me and I start panicking and crying. Like, they were extremely rude. And not only that, but it's like, I'm sorry, but I'm a child coming to a place that I don't know, where I'm gonna have to live for the next 3 months without my parents. You would think that they would be a little bit more welcoming and comforting, you know, trying to introduce you to the new environment. But no, they were like, no, give me your piss. Like, ew, fucking weird. Ugh. Anyway, so after the medical part, I had to fill out a ton of forms with endless fucking questions. It literally took about 2.5 hours to fully check in. Like, I don't know why they needed to ask questions. Like, bro, I literally tried to unalive myself. What else is there left to ask? You wanna know my social security number? Like, get the fuck away from me. Anyways, so they walked me to my cottage, AKA the house/group home where everybody stayed. And this is where I met everyone there. Now listen, I expected to walk in there and have everybody just mean as fuck, you know? Which I wouldn't have been surprised if they were, because like, honestly, I would be miserable as fuck too. Like, I felt like I was gonna walk into fucking prison, like where everybody's looking at you like, who's the new bitch? But no, surprisingly not. They were all actually really sweet and very welcoming, you know, like they had complimented me a ton, which is nice whenever you first go in there, you know, because you're like, they were just really, really nice, which gave me hope. But then, after about 20 days, a new girl arrived, who we are going to call Rachel. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was annoyed at the very start because our cottage had 5 bedrooms for 10 girls to share. Well, of course, who had to share a room with the new girl, Rachel? Me. Now, I'm super introverted, okay? And in general, this place brought out so much anger in me that like I literally wanted to scream and just crash out almost 24/7. Which I know you guys are like, oh my gosh, but like I thought you liked it, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, no, the people there were nice, but I'm still in a fucking mental facility. Like, the fuck? I'm still in an unfamiliar environment where I have to get used to a whole new routine with new people, and you're forced to be with people that you don't even like. Some, you know, like the people that you don't like, you're forced to be around. So yeah, and having this hoe in my space just kind of put me even more on edge than I already was. But I knew there was nothing that anybody could do because the cottage was already full. And you can call me mean or whatever the fuck you want, but this girl walked in with a smile on her face like she was happy to be there.
I said, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Which, I mean, like, to each their own, but like, I don't know, that just like put me off at first because bitch, you just got brought to a fucking mental facility. Why are you smiling? Why are you happy? Anyway, so that night at around 8 p.m., I had just taken a shower and done my laundry, and now I'm putting some stuff away. And I was trying my best to be polite to her without being too open with her, because nothing against her, but it takes me some time to warm up to people and feel comfortable enough to share things about myself with them. But shorty over here, she had no problem telling anybody about her life story, which, like I keep saying, to each their own, but like, I was like, damn bitch. All right though, like, go off, whatever. And it's not even like I asked her anything crazy. Like, I was like talking about school, like literally small talk about school, and then all of a sudden she goes into like a 45-minute fucking monologue, which, by the way, if you guys don't know what a fucking monologue is, it's pretty much just like she had like this whole thing fucking scripted in her head. I don't actually know if that's what it means, but you guys get the fucking point. So yeah, she goes on for like 45 minutes about her trauma and why she's there. She talked about her sister yelling at her and hitting her and that she was there for suicidal ideation, aka she was like coming up with ideas on how she was going to unalive herself. Once again, if I am wrong, please let me know down below in the comments. I'm pretty sure that I'm right though. And then she goes on to say that she's like super religious, which keep that in mind because that is very important for later. So yeah, after almost an hour of this girl talking about herself, she starts asking me very invasive questions, like very personal shit. Like she was pressuring me into telling her why I was there, and I felt awkward, so like I shared a tiny bit because, like, you know, whenever someone just dumps a bunch of shit on you and you feel like you have to like share just like a little bit about yourself because you don't want them to feel like some certain type of way. Well, you know, so I shared like a teeny tiny bit, and then she's like, well, how did you do it? And I'm like, bitch, back the fuck up.
Back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up.
And I was very triggered because my attempt at taking my own life was literally very recent and very fucking traumatic. So, you know, my heart honestly starts racing and the room starts spinning. So I go to the fucking bathroom because I just couldn't handle her anymore or her questions. So fast forward, I talked to a few of my friends, well, 2 of my close friends, about the conversation that I had had with her. And they also agreed that it was super weird that she was being, 1, that open, but also 2, very aggressive, not physically but verbally. Anyways, over the next few days, Rachel starts talking about her religious beliefs, and then she starts going on about like super sensitive topics, like about how abortion is wrong and God put everybody here for a reason. And like, no shade, but I have no problem with religious people, but once you start trying to force your beliefs on me, we got a problem. Like, I'm not at church camp. I'm at a fucking mental facility. Keep the shit to yourself. Like, what the fuck? Again, weird as fuck. Anyway, so yeah, she was trying to force her beliefs on everybody, and there's a little bit more about that as well later. Anyway, so later on that night, we all get into a screaming match with this girl who we're gonna call Ellie. To be honest, I kind of started it because Ellie made a comment that one of my friends looked like a burnt cookie because she was black. One, I was like fucking shook at the comment. I'm like, did I actually just hear that come out of her mouth? And then after that, she makes a comment about her dad also not being around, which wasn't just random either, it's because of the stereotype. So this fucking set me off. I was like, fuck no. I storm into the other room, screaming and cussing her out. And I guess that everybody else was just waiting for someone to fucking do it because everybody else joined in too. They were like, yeah, bro, like what the fuck is wrong with you? So the counselors hear us, they come in to mediate. And because during this time, I was still in such a sensitive state, getting used to the facility and, you know, my attempt being very recent and just all the things that were going on, I start like crying, which was a little bit embarrassing, but it was like, yeah, it was just embarrassing, low-key. So while we're like in this mediation fucking meeting, because we all had to go and be in a group and talk about the situation, Rachel's only contribution was, we should all stop swearing in the cottage because it goes against my beliefs.
Girl, shut the fuck up!
Like, bitch, we got racism going on and you're worried about fucking people swearing in the cottage? Let me fucking get you some earplugs. And let me tell you guys, it was literally just so random and so out of nowhere that everybody got even more pissed off than they already were. And then we all got sent to bed early. Because after that, we were like, bah, 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 bah. Just like, no, 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 no. Anyways, so a few days later, we are all in the same room and Rachel is going on about some bullshit. Like, girlie was literally talking to herself because nobody else was fucking listening. And then all of a sudden she announces, oh yeah, I told everybody at my school that I was coming here and why I was coming here. And like everybody just kind of was like it just seemed like she was like bragging or doing it for attention at that point. So, and my thing is there are people, like there are people here that actually have problems, and you're over here treating this experience or like what we're going through like a fucking circus. Like, come on, come all, come see the fucking mentally ill.
Sorry, this is just so deep.
It is deep.
This is really deep.
Anyway, so I was just fucking shook. I got up, I walked out, because if I was around her for another second, I'm afraid of what I might have done. So later on that night, we have a community meeting where we could respectfully confront others about how their behaviors and actions have affected us. And there goes Rachel again with the fucking swearing. She's like, it's against my religion and it makes me triggered. And she's like, and I just feel like people are doing it on purpose because they know that I don't like it. It's like, girl, we've been swearing since before you got here. Like, get gone, kick rocks, please. Not only that, but like we were shook because we're sitting around and we're like, bro, like why would we, if we knew that like it had triggered you that badly, why would we sit here and do it? We wouldn't purposely sit here and trigger somebody. And y'all, during med pass, which is where we all get our meds, someone said fuck, and Rachel yells, can you please not say that? I don't like it. And we're all just like, bitch, what the fuck? But whenever the girl who said fuck was about to react, like, you know, she was like, she was pissed. Rachel immediately went and ran and hid behind a staff member, like. So anyways, the next morning, Rachel is getting up in another girl's face, instigating her and taunting her, being like, I know you want to hit me. Go ahead, do it. And the girl who we're gonna call Sarah was fed the fuck up, and you could tell that she literally was about to slap her. But I'm proud of her. She kept her cool and she held back. She was like, I'm not gonna let this fucking psycho bitch get the best of me. Yo, can I tell you something? So, my boyfriend, back whenever we were in high school, he had to go to inpatient rehab because they found that he had marijuana in his locker. So he had to go away to a rehab where he spent like 2 or 3 months there. And he did have a little problem with like instigating people, and what he would do is he would go and he would be like, oh yeah, like I fucked your mom, like blah blah blah. He would make your mom jokes. And he was very much an instigator. Like he thought that it was funny. So this one kid that he had like low-key beef with, he like kept saying stuff about his mom, and he went and he punched my boyfriend in the face, and he got him in trouble, and this kid got like dragged away somewhere. He's grown since then, but like when I heard this, I'm like, because since he was instigating, he did have to stay in rehab longer. But it's just like fucking crazy. There are people out there that will like fucking sit there and instigate you just to fuck your shit up, and the kid ended up having to stay longer than he did. Anyways, back to the story. So yeah, fast forward to med pass. Rachel starts fucking going on about how she's the most mentally ill person here and how her problems were worse than anybody else's. And my thing is like, this is where it starts to strike a nerve in me, because it's like, bro, I don't like trauma competitions. They're fucked up. Like, we're all here for our own reason, which is like one thing that like I really hate. It's like, I'll see on TikTok, girls will post a video and they'll be like, oh, you know, this is how I know it's getting bad again, like their mental health. And their room won't be messy at all. You know, they'll have a few clothes on the floor, but like people in the comments are like, oh, yours isn't even that bad, like blah, blah, blah. You're doing this for views, da, 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 this and that. But my thing is like, not everybody who's going through a fucking mentally fucked up time has to have roaches crawling through their fucking room. Get it together. Everybody's different. Everybody's brains are affected different by certain things. Like that trauma competition shit, it's just fucking wild to me. Anyways, I was like, whatever, I'm leaving soon anyways, so I let it go. I don't give a fuck about it. Thankfully, I'm able to end up switching rooms though. So now I was staying with one of my friends, which was literally the best choice that I had ever made while staying in the facility. Now enters Kaylie. Yes. A new girl, Kaylie, arrives, and what do you know? Her and Rachel were both from the same part of Iowa. So of course they bond over that. But Kaylie showing up just stirred the pot even more, because now Rachel had somebody to talk shit with. So we would always overhear Rachel talking to Kaylie about us. And then eventually Kaylie comes over to us and she starts asking us things. And she starts telling us things that Rachel has said about us. She's like, yeah, like she called you guys sluts. And you know, she's saying that you guys are horrible and mean to her. Obviously, none of this was true. Like, we're all just looking around at each other like, okay, bro. So, you know, later on, Sarah hears Rachel gossiping with Kaylie about a patient who was here before, who wasn't here anymore. And they're like gossiping and laughing. So Sarah got pissed off and called her out. And then, you know, after this, of course, Rachel goes on to start trash talking Sarah, calling her a ton of names, which it's like, okay girl, but you said you were religious, so like, I don't know, seems a little bit like a hypocrite to me. Anyways, so then finally I snap and I yell at Rachel and I start calling her out for literally everything. Everything. Because like, okay girlie, this is getting to be enough. But of course she walks away and just hides behind a staff member per usual. But then finally, one night, things had just like, people got to their boiling point, okay? So, everybody wants a group meeting to, once again, clear the air. And this particular night, we had a new staff member whose name was Tom. And let me explain something real quick. If you've ever been to a residential facility or worked with mentally ill teenagers, you know that you are not supposed to leave them alone. You guys could probably already guess where I'm going with this. Yeah, Tom, instead of doing his fucking job, he would spend like, I don't know, maybe like half an hour in the only bathroom on the main floor. And it was like happening so much that some girls even started planning to run away. Because they were like, bro, like, we could fucking run away very easily from here. Look at this fucking clown. And this is exactly why we were not supposed to be left alone for too long, unsupervised. Left alone at all, actually. Anyways, but that night the girls didn't obviously go through with it. They were just kind of, you know, speaking about it. So then during our group talk, things got heated, as expected, and Rachel walks out with another staff member, and when she walks out, Tom starts calling us like fucking bullies, and I kid you not, bitches. Yes, he starts calling us bullies and bitches, and on top of this, he's telling us that we are terrible people. And at this point, everybody gets so pissed off that like things escalate, and we all literally sprint out of the fucking cottage, running straight for a hole in the fence to try and escape. Yeah. Yeah, it got that bad. Now, as I'm running, I start to have a panic attack, and I literally fucking collapse in the parking lot, and I'm like screaming and crying. And I want you guys to please keep in mind, I'm 13 during all of this, okay? Like, just in case some of you forgot, just wanted to remind y'all. Anyway, so Tom had no idea what to fucking do. So when I tell you, he literally sat on the cement in the parking lot and started crying with me. I'm not even fucking joking. It's kind of like one of those moments where you're like, what the fuck? You're like crying, but at the same time you're like, what the fuck? One of those. 4 girls actually did end up leaving campus, but I'm extremely glad that I did not, because all of those girls lost 10-minute phone calls with their families, and they had to go back to only speaking with their family on the phone for 5 minutes. Thankfully, I got to keep my 10-minute phone calls. Anyways, there was so much tension in the cottage after this, as you could imagine. Like, everyone barely spoke to each other, but that wasn't even the worst part. A new girl, Ava, got thrown into the mix. Right away, Ava was super quiet and mostly just like kept to herself doing her arts and crafts. And then the one day, Kaylie, she like runs over to the rest of us and she looks extremely concerned. We're like, hey, like what the fuck's going on? And she starts talking about how Rachel was pressuring Ava into talking about her self-harm scars on her arm. This really upset me because I've also struggled with self-harm, and I could only imagine how she feels, because that's very triggering, especially like being pressured into it, into talking about it. So then a friend politely pulls Rachel aside and they talk to her about it, and Rachel defends herself, saying she didn't do anything wrong and she didn't like the way that we were treating her. Girl just goes ahead and makes it all about her again. So that night we have another group meeting where Rachel's being even more obnoxious than she usually is. She starts calling us crazy and was like refusing to take accountability, which I'm literally not surprised in the slightest. And that's whenever she like turns on Kaylie and starts insulting her home life and her family, which this was the last straw for Sarah. Sarah was like, no bitch, you're done. Because in the blink of an eye, Sarah had bolted across the room and slapped the fuck out of Rachel.
Make some noise, y'all. What the fuck? Ah!
She gave that girl a well-deserved ass beating. And we're all fucking shocked. We're like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Why does it sound like a fucking chicken right there? Like, fuck, 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 fuck. What the fuck? Anyways. So now all we can hear is the sound of Rachel crying. And I'm not gonna lie, everybody just sat there. Like, doo-doo-doo. We didn't see shit. But anyways, the staff obviously pulls Sarah aside for a talk. And even they were fed up with Rachel at this point. So they literally like barely did shit about this. After that, Rachel was kept separate for her safety. Like, she wasn't allowed around any of us. And then a few days later, Ava had told us that Rachel was gossiping about the reason why all of us were there. She was like making fun of our suicide attempts, drug use, and our family lives, shit that we've been through, that we've talked about, incompetence around her. This was really fucking hurtful, obviously. And this made me really upset because, like, you know, you're in a place to try and overcome the shit that you're going through and the shit that you've been through. And you have some, like, this is supposed to be a safe space, and then you have somebody making fun of the shit that you've been through. So I call my mom and I'm crying, and, you know, she helps calm me down, you know, telling me, hey, like, you're getting out in 4 days. Whew, just stabbed myself in the eye. Which I didn't even know that I was getting out in 4 days. But everybody was so angry and they kept threatening to beat Rachel up. So they continued to keep her away from us. While I was in the facility, I developed an anxiety tic from being in just such a traumatic environment. And one day Rachel saw me doing this tic, and what does she say? This bitch literally says, like, at first it seemed like she was being nice. She goes, are you okay? That looks like what my sister does whenever she's having a seizure.
Why? 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 Why?
Like, girl, I couldn't believe she said that. But surprisingly, I managed to stay out of arguments for the next few days. And finally, I was fucking free. I was literally so happy. My parents had brought me cupcakes too, because I literally hadn't had them in 60 days. And my residential holds a support group Zoom meeting type of call like every Sunday. And the first time I decide to join, guess who pops up? Rachel's. Thankfully, it's over Zoom, so I'm literally just able to click end the fucking call. And I'm extremely thankful that I do not have to live with that bitch anymore. Listen, I hope that she gets better with whatever she's going through. I hope she has a good life, but I never want to see that bitch again. Okay, story time about how my mom hates me. So a little background information. I was 9 whenever all of this, majority of this stuff happened or started, but I am currently 15 years old and I was in primary school. Now, I live in a family of 5. My mom, my stepdad, my 3 older brothers. One is 27, the other is 24, and then the last one is 18. I live with all 3 of them, but I only talk to one of them. My oldest brother was extremely abusive when I was younger, and thankfully the abuse stopped whenever I was like 13. I would say that my 18-year-old brother was difficult to be around, but my 24-year-old brother, I was so thankful to have him. Like, I love him so much and I could not imagine my life without him. And to be honest, if it weren't for him, I might not even be here. And I know that sounds like I'm over-exaggerating, but if anything, that's literally an understatement. Anyways, and my mom has 1 brother and 5 sisters, and she doesn't talk to any of them, so I like don't have any extended family in my life. And yeah, so I don't talk to my 2 older brothers or my mom, just my favorite brother who's 24, who we're gonna call Asher. Now, a little bit about my real dad. He had cheated on my mom with one of her sisters. Yup. And she forgave him because she obviously loved him, but then he cheated again. Yes, he did. And then she forgave him again. And then he cheated again. The 3rd time was with another one of my mom's sisters.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
That was thankfully for her, like, you know, respect for herself, the last time she let it happen. She finally divorced him. It took so fucking long for them to get, like, the divorce to actually happen, like, the process of it. But yeah, I honestly don't know what I would have done if I were her. Like, who would you even forgive in that situation? Would you forgive your 2 sisters who fucked your man, your husband, the father of your children? Or do you forgive your husband? Or do you not forgive any of them? Or do you forgive both of them? I don't fucking know. Anyways, growing up, I was always closer to my dad. So when he left, it really hit me hard. My mom and I would literally fight all day, every day. And usually every day would end up with me in my room in the dark, crying all alone, and the marks that she left on me from abusing me. As I got older, you would think that things would get a little bit better just because time passed, and now that I'm getting older, she wouldn't abuse me like she used to. But no, actually things got worse. They turned from normal arguments into screaming matches with, I kid you not, plates being fucking thrown across the room and just all sorts of chaos. My oldest brother would always get involved, and I was terrified of him, still am terrified of him, because of all the PTSD that he caused me. And my 24-year-old brother, Asher, was literally the only one who would defend me. Like, when I tell you guys that I love him with my whole heart and he's literally my rock, like I said earlier, I don't think I would have survived without him. So one day, whenever I was 13, my mom came home and she starts yelling about the house being a mess. In our Muslim Pakistani household, we're fairly modern, I would say, but my mom can be very traditional and sexist towards me. She comes into my room calling me lazy, useless, and a ton of other names. And when I would try to speak back to her and defend myself, she would slap me across the face. Like the one time she slapped me and she tried to push me down the stairs. So I grab her arm, obviously, as I'm like falling backwards, and my nail accidentally scratches her. And then she grabs my phone and repeatedly smashes it off of the fucking ground. And then she calls everybody claiming that I slapped her. Like, don't abuse the abuser, because they're gonna swear they're the victim every time. Or don't try to stick up to yourself when it comes to the abuser, because then, yeah, they just play the fucking victim 24/7. It's honestly embarrassing for her. So I run out of the house at around 10 p.m. and I literally took a train an hour and a half away, and I actually ended up staying with my aunt for like 2 months. Eventually, obviously, I have to talk to social workers, and I start to realize that nobody believed anything that I told them. Do you want to know what they said? They said that I had an amazing life and I need to stop acting up and be grateful for the life that I have. So I have to go back home. Over the years, the fights continued. She no longer hit me, but she started trying to like ruin, like, or just give me a bad reputation. She would tell everybody that I was lazy and disrespectful and unhygienic. Hearing this all the time really like fucked with me, so I started distancing myself from her even more than I already had. And I did it like slowly over time, like, because I knew that if I had just, you know, kind of started acting distant with her right away, it would have been another fucking problem. Victim again. So now she would still kind of argue with me about the usual things, but she started arguing with me about my school behavior now, since I had become known for skipping lessons and arriving late. Well, about 2 weeks ago, I was skipping class with my friends when my former head of year, who was my head of year in year 9 and 10, and somebody who I was actually close to had saw us. Which, by the way, if you guys don't know what a head of year is, it is somebody who is pretty much like, it's like a principal for that grade, I think. If I'm wrong, please correct me. And then, you know, there was a teacher who has always disliked my friend group. She accused us of bullying the younger kids, which wasn't true. And whenever I came home, I went straight upstairs to avoid my mom. But of course, you know, her confrontational ass starts yelling at me, calling me names, saying that she was ashamed of me, and she wished that I was not her daughter, and how she thought my brothers were better than me, which I already knew that she felt this way, but it really hurt whenever she said that she just wishes that I were in foster care. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I shed a few tears. So, you know, my favorite brother, Asher, comes into my room and he asked me if the accusations that the school was making against me were true. Of course, I tell him they're not, and him and my stepdad believe me. My mom, on the other hand, she refused to fucking listen. This woman literally has no idea who I am. Everything that she knows about me is the old person that I used to be and the outdated version of me. You know, the little girl who liked Ariana Grande, like when I was 10. So, you know, my brother and stepdad, they arrange a meeting with the school on Tuesday to check the CCTV footage. And, you know, I'm ready to prove that I didn't do shit wrong. And of course, what happens? At the meeting, my head of the year admitted that it was all a miscommunication. My brother and stepdad were fucking furious, obviously. They were like, do you guys not realize how this has damaged her relationship with her mother? And, you know, like, they were honest with the school. They were like, she's never had motherly love in her fucking life. And it's true. Like, I can't remember the last time that I hugged my mom or said I love you to my mom, vice versa. And she always criticizing me, whether it's telling me that my makeup looks ugly or I look like a witch whenever I wear my hair down. My mom's friend honestly told me the one time that she might just be jealous of me because I, quote, have a better life than she did. But that doesn't change anything. If anything, you should be happy that your child is living a better life than you did. Your parents should want better for you than they had. Anyway, so after this meeting, my brother and stepdad tried to convince me to talk to her again, saying that she was crying and claiming that she wasn't my enemy. But at that point, she was. Like, there was never seeing her as anything else. Like, I hate that woman who doesn't even deserve to be called my mother in the first place had made me feel like such a piece of shit when all I wanted was to be treated like her daughter and be accepted and loved for who I was. People will always say, oh, she's still your mom. But no, fuck that. I don't ever feel like she's been a mother to me. You guys can shove that shit up your ass, because until you have been in my shoes, I don't care. It's not respect your elders or anything like that. No, you give respect and you get respect back. She's always favored my brothers over me, and all of this has just turned me into such a cold person. Okay, everybody, that is the end of today's story times. To the two ladies who sent your stories in, I am so sorry for all the things that you guys have went through, and I hope that you guys are doing way better now. And thank you for sharing your stories with us. But if you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, maybe hit that subscribe button down below. And if you want to know whenever I post my next video, make sure to click that bell. And if you want to send in your anonymous story time, or you want to know how to send in your anonymous story time, make sure to click the links down below in the description. But other than that, I will see you guys next time with a new story time.